The entire prison yard went silent the moment Marcus pointed his finger at Keanu Reeves and said, "You don't belong here." 200 inmates stopped, breathing, waiting to see what would happen next. Nobody expected what came in the following 90 seconds. If you want more stories like this every single day, hit that subscribe button right now and never miss one. The Indiana Correctional Facility was not the kind of place where anyone arrived without a reputation. Every man who walked through those gates carried something with him: a history, a record, a reason. And the moment the other inmates found out who you were, the clock started ticking on how long it would take before someone decided to test you. Keanu Reeves had been inside for 11 days when Marcus Webb first heard his name. Marcus was not a man who needed an introduction. He stood 6 feet 4 inches tall and weighed 315 pounds of dense, structured muscle built over 7 years of nothing but iron, concrete, and time. He had arrived at the facility long before Keanu and had spent every single one of those years establishing exactly one thing: that the yard belonged to him. Not officially, not on paper, but in the way that mattered inside those walls, in the way that every inmate understood the moment they stepped outside for recreation. The yard was Marcus Webb's territory. Nobody crossed the center line without acknowledging it. Nobody used the weight equipment in the east corner without waiting for Marcus to finish first. Nobody sat on the benches along the north wall unless Marcus or one of the men he respected had already taken their position. These were not written rules. They did not need to be. 7 years of consistency had made them as real as the razor wire running along the top of the perimeter fence. Keanu Reeves walked into that yard on a Tuesday afternoon like he had not received the memo. He came out with a worn paperback book tucked under his arm, found a bench along the north wall, sat down, opened the book, and started reading. Quietly, calmly, without looking up, without scanning the yard to check who was watching, without performing any of the small rituals of acknowledgement that every other inmate understood as the basic language of respect in that space. Marcus noticed from across the yard within 30 seconds. The men around Marcus noticed Marcus noticing. That was how it worked. A shift in his posture, a slight tightening around the jaw, and the 4 men sitting nearest to him straightened up and started paying attention to whatever had caught his eye. When they saw what it was, the quiet conversation they had been having stopped completely. Marcus stood up. He crossed the yard slowly, not rushing, not storming, the kind of walk that men who have nothing to prove and everything to protect develop over years. Every inmate within visual range tracked the movement. Conversations dropped in volume. A basketball that had been bouncing near the court came to a stop. The yard, which moments before had carried the low, constant noise of 200 men occupying outdoor space, began pulling itself into silence the way air gets pulled out of a room before something significant happens. Marcus stopped 4 feet in front of the bench where Keanu was sitting. Keanu did not look up from his book immediately. He finished the sentence he was reading. Then he closed the book slowly, kept his finger between the pages to hold his place, and looked up. Marcus pointed his finger directly at him. "You don't belong here." The words landed in a yard that had gone completely still. 200 men heard them. 200 men were now watching the bench along the north wall with the kind of focused, collective attention that only arrives when something is about to happen that cannot be undone. Keanu looked at the finger, then at Marcus. His expression did not change. There was no tension in his jaw, no shift in his breathing, no performance of calm designed to mask something churning underneath. He simply looked at Marcus the way a man looks at something he has already decided how to handle. "I think I belong exactly where I am," Keanu said. His voice was even, not loud, not soft. Calibrated precisely to carry to Marcus and no further, which meant in the silence of that yard it carried to every single person watching. Marcus took 1 step closer. The distance between them was now close enough that the size difference became impossible to ignore. Marcus filled the space above Keanu the way a wall fills a doorframe. He was not leaning in. He did not need to. His presence alone was the statement. 7 years, Marcus said. I have been in this yard for 7 years. Nobody sits on that bench without understanding what that means. Keanu looked at him for a long moment. Then he said something that nobody in that yard expected. 7 years is a long time to spend making sure people know a bench belongs to you. The silence that followed those words was a different kind of silence than the one before them. The first silence had been anticipation. This one was something closer to held breath, because what Keanu had just said was not a challenge thrown in anger. It was not a taunt designed to provoke. It was an observation, delivered without malice and without apology, which made it somehow more significant than either of those things would have been. Marcus stared at him. Keanu held his gaze without blinking and without looking away and without adding anything to what he had already said. He simply let the words sit between them in the open air of the yard, where 200 men were watching and waiting to find out what happened next. What Marcus did in that moment would define the rest of his time in that facility. He could escalate. He had done it before. He knew exactly how that played out, and so did everyone watching. But escalation required something from him that Keanu had not given him a clean reason to take. Keanu had not swung on him, had not insulted him, had not moved toward him, had simply sat on a bench and then answered a question with something that landed too close to the truth to be dismissed as disrespect. Marcus lowered his hand. He stood there for another 3 seconds. Then he turned around and walked back across the yard. Nobody clapped. Nobody said anything. The yard slowly returned to its regular noise, the way water settles after something large passes through it. But every man out there understood that what they had just witnessed was not nothing. It was the moment when a man who had spent 7 years building something out of dominance and proximity walked away from a confrontation he had started because the man sitting on the bench had not given him a single thing to fight against. Keanu opened his book again and found his page. In the days that followed, the story moved through the facility the way stories always move in closed spaces. By the end of that week, every inmate in every block had heard some version of what happened in the yard on Tuesday afternoon. Some versions were more dramatic than what actually occurred. Some were more muted. But every version contained the same core detail. Marcus Webb had walked across the yard, pointed his finger at Keanu Reeves, and Keanu Reeves had said 7 words that stopped him cold and sent him back to where he came from. The bench along the north wall was available to whoever wanted it after that. Marcus never approached Keanu again, not because he was afraid, but because in the economy of respect that governs life inside those walls, he had already made his move, and the response he received had cost him something he could not recover by making the same move twice. Keanu served his time the way he had started it, quietly, without performance, without seeking anything from the yard or the facility or the men around him except the space to move through each day with his own sense of himself intact. Some men go to prison and come out harder. Some come out broken. Keanu Reeves walked out of that facility the same man who had walked in, which in that environment was perhaps the rarest outcome of all. Because staying exactly who you are when everything around you is designed to change you requires a kind of strength that does not announce itself, does not need a bench to claim, and does not require 200 witnesses to exist. It simply is. And on a Tuesday afternoon in the yard, 200 men saw exactly what that looked like.